guys, my name's Chloe, otherwise known as Princess Aspian, and welcome to my channel. So I wanted to do a little bit of a story today, and I also wanted to talk about something that not many people talk about, and I guess it's because it's a bit of a taboo subject. Nobody really likes to bring this part up because it is such a scary thing. Today I want to talk about meltdowns. Oh no! Oh yes. We're going there today. So meltdowns and sensory processing disorder seem to be a really taboo subject matter for anyone that isn't a toddler, unfortunately. And the older you get, the more taboo it becomes, which really, really sucks because at the end of the day, there are so many people that struggle with oversensory processing disorder and meltdowns and panic attacks and anxiety attacks. And unlike temper tantrums, or the terrible twos as they call them, these things don't grow out with age. But people's understanding of it seems to, which gives those of us who actually struggle with oversensory processing disorder a really big sense of discomfort and insecurity, more than we're already made to feel on a daily basis. And well, one of the good things about Asperger's is I never really understand the ideals of society norms, so I'm gonna be the one talking about it today. So here we go. If no one else is gonna discuss it, I will. Hi, my name's Chloe Hayden. I'm 20 years old and meltdowns are still a part of my life. There, I said it. And you know what? That's okay. Anyway, as you guys know, I like to explain things through stories because that's how I learn and that's how I like to express my thoughts. So I have a bit of a story for you guys today about oversensory processing disorder and about meltdowns and about the biggest meltdown I have ever had in my life. This particular story is about a ring. No, I am not engaged. Ew, could you imagine me with a husband? No, thank you. I'll stick to writing fan fiction about boy band members. Anyway, this is also a story about negative circumstances. You know what? I'm gonna stop telling you about what the story's about and actually just tell you the story. Let's do that. Okay, so I've spoken before about how I get really, really attached to things. I literally cried in an op shop when I was 18 because there was an old ratty stuffed deer in there, which had probably been in there for a really long time. And the op shop ladies were gonna put it in the rubbish bin, and I literally started crying my eyes out. I was 18 years old, crying my eyes out in the middle of Vinnie's. And that deer ended up coming home with us, and it's still my favorite thing in the world. I can never sell books because I'm attached to the memories that reading that book gave me. I watch the same movies over and over and over again because I become absolutely obsessed with the characters and the stories, and it's a sense of comfort. I have got 4 pieces of jewelry that I love more than life itself. I am not a jewelry person by any means. I hardly ever wear jewelry. I am obsessed with these pieces though, and it's again because of the memories that hold behind it. I have got a charm bracelet which has got 2 beads with hair of my horses in them when they passed away. The other one is my autism awareness bracelet which I never take off. The other is my locket which my grandparents gave me for Christmas this year, and the 4th one is a heart-shaped ring which I got when I was 13. There's something missing on my hands. So my family are a really beachy family. We have jet skis and surfboards and wakeboards and everything, and we always go out to the beach and it's a lot of fun. And we go out every single weekend in summer, and even a lot of the times in the winter we just make sure we put on like really thick wetsuits. We've done this for as long as I can remember, and because this is such a routine for me, I know what to do, I know what to bring, I know what not to bring. Sometimes though, no matter how hard you plan, sometimes your brain just does stuff and it's not working and it's not listening and it just goes off on a holiday without you. And this was one of those times. Because sometimes no matter how hard you try to plan something, or no matter how hard you think that you've got something worked out, sometimes things go wrong and sometimes things go missing. And if you're a scatterhead like me, things get missing more than they get remembered. So remember that little pink ring I told you about? This little pink heart-shaped ring was a present that my parents got me for my 13th birthday. It's the only thing I ever wear, and it is the most precious thing that I own. Not necessarily in value or in price or in worth, but the significance of what that ring means to me is above what any price could possibly have. This ring was given to me at a time that was probably the most difficult time of my entire life. When I was 13, that was just before I got diagnosed, and life was really, really difficult. I was struggling more than ever at school. I was in hospital with eating disorders. It was not a good time of my life for me, and this ring with a little pink heart-shaped crystal in it signifies that no matter what I was going through, I had people that loved me and I had people that cared, and I always had someone there for me. I don't even know if you can possibly imagine the feeling that I felt when I was going back from the beach and I reached down with my little tick that I do to fiddle with my ring, and I realized that it wasn't there. Cue the biggest meltdown that I have ever had in my entire life. Now, I don't actually know how to properly describe this feeling that I felt. All I can refer it to is, You know that static screen on a television? Or that feeling that you get when you're kind of between awake and asleep and the world doesn't really make any sense? Or something that I feel like none of us can relate to on a personal level. It feels like your head is imploding over and over and over again, and it's so painful. And the worst thing is, you can't stop that feeling. You're stuck inside of your head. You're stuck inside of this volcanic eruption of energy, and it is so terrifying. It's like you're inside of a nightmare and the jump scare of it is repeating itself over and over again. And each time the jump scare happens, the scarier it gets. And it's really, really scary because in that moment, there is literally nothing that you can do to get out of it. No matter what happens, no matter what you do to try and regulate yourself, you are stuck inside of that nightmare, and it is so terrifying. You cannot get out of it no matter who helps you, no matter what you do, you're stuck. It's why you see so many people with autism or sensory processing disorder, anything that stops our systems from running regularly, often hitting ourselves or screaming or crying when we're in meltdown mode. Because trust me, if you felt what we felt inside of our heads when that happened, you would be doing the exact same thing. Our ability to self-regulate and comprehend realistic situations completely diminishes. Now, I've had meltdowns before. I've had moments where I have cried, or I've even fainted sometimes because my entire system is just like, nope, I'm out of here. My body has endured more than it is physically and mentally capable of, and it just shuts down. It is out. It is done. Now, these meltdowns can happen for any reason. They can happen for something that's really, really big, like a family member dying or something really tragic happening, or they can happen over something that is really small, which to you may seem completely insignificant, but to the person suffering, it is literally the end of the world, such as losing a ring. The process of a meltdown is kind of like the building and the formation of a wave, I suppose. Seeing as we're talking about beaches, we might as well keep using the beach analogy. So let's compare the beginning of a meltdown to the beginning of a wave being formed. It's just a small energy, something that forces the ocean to rise up really, really slowly. But it's an energy, and it's definitely there, even if you can't necessarily see or feel that force yet. So I instantly began to panic before I could even properly assess the situation of my ring being missing. Before I could check the wave and see if the wave was a tidal wave or if it was a small bump that would merely wash over me. Because when you panic, everything looks like a tsunami. Thanks, brain. Good job. As the wave began to build in momentum and height, as did my panic and my irrationality of thinking. I checked and rechecked my bag and the car and the jet ski and our life jackets, and I even began to strip off just in case the ring had slipped down my clothes somehow. My breathing was rushed and my head felt foggy and my teeth were chattering. But at this point in time, despite me looking everywhere like a crazy lady, this ring could have been right in front of me on a neon board that said, hey, your ring is here, and I still wouldn't have seen it. And then comes the crashing of the wave. The energy that collides violently with the water and causes everything in it to spin violently out of control into a force of pure negative energy. My ring was gone. It seems so insignificant, doesn't it? It seems so irrational that I would literally be sitting in the middle of my bedroom floor with mess surrounding me while I cried and rocked and hit myself and screamed violently into my kneecap. But I suppose that's the thing, isn't it? Because even big riptides look completely harmless to someone that's sitting on the sunny shoreline. And in that moment, it was easier to let myself be dragged off into the rip rather than try and swim back to safety. But even the biggest wave does have to end eventually. The water does have to still again, and rationality has to come back. Sometimes it may just take a little bit of extra help. So after a 3-hour meltdown and sitting on my bedroom floor looking more like one of the victims of a violent horror movie rather than the bubbly, bright, happy girl that I was earlier that day, my clothes were messy and my face was splotchy and I was covered in a mess of snot and tears. I know, cute, right? And that's when my dad came into my room and folded his arms and leaned against my doorframe and raised his eyebrow, and he was not taking any of it. And then he said the following words, which I previously would not have recommended to say to anyone who is suffering from a panic attack. Imagine this in an Irish accent because I can't do Irish accents. He says, right, your pity party is now over. What are you going to do about it? Okay, so I had just had the biggest meltdown of my entire life. My ring was still missing at a beach that was an hour away. A get over it talk with my father really wasn't the sort of thing that I wanted to deal with right now. I was kind of going through enough in my own head without him barging in and helping me. What I wanted was to crawl into my bed for the next 50 years and cry myself to sleep and watch Barbie movies and cuddle my dog and forget that the world existed. But that probably wouldn't go down very well because I have things to do and I have a life to live, and I know that it doesn't seem like that when you have a panic attack and when you're in the midst of it, but you do, and there are other things out there and things do get okay, and this is how. So he left the room after I muttered a very disgruntled, I don't know, and it gave me some time to think. Damn it, why are parents always so smart? This is why I could never be a parent, because I would just be like, okay, like, see you later, I'll get you some Ben and Jerry's or something. Because you know what? He was right. I did have to do something about it. By something, he probably meant get up, take a shower, have something to eat, brush yourself off, go for a walk, and get over yourself. But I've never been one to do things halfway. So I stood up and I wiped my snotty nose over my already drenched outfit, and I got onto Facebook. On Facebook, I typed up the following post. Does anybody have a metal detector? Need it tonight, ASAP. And I posted this onto every single group within a vicinity of like an hour and a half or 2 hours away from where I lived. I was going to find that stupid damn ring. Did I mention that this beach had been about an hour and a half of a road trip away? Or that it was 8 o'clock at night and currently dark outside? Or that my dad, my brother, and my brother's best friend all trekked out with me on that hour and a half road trip to come and find that ring, metal detector in hand? Or the fact that I had lost a ring that was the size of a 5-cent coin and I was going to go and attempt to find it on a beach that was kilometers upon kilometers upon kilometers long and wide, and I was planning on finding it even though I had no idea where it was. I told you I didn't do things halfway. So something that this experience taught me is that pity and sorrow get you nowhere. I know it's hard, and I know that the situation you're in could seem impossible at times, and that falling into a heap and letting yourself being taken away by the waves that you're feeling inside can sometimes seem like the easiest solution. But I promise you it's not. If you want something done, get up, wipe your tears away, and try. The end result may not be what you want, but you're never gonna know unless you try. Letting yourself be taken away by these waves of depression and anxiety is so easy, and I know because I have let that happen so many times, and I am so lucky that I have got parents that tell me when I'm being full of myself and that tell me when I need to get over it. And yes, it's harsh, and yes, sometimes I hate them for it, but at the end of the day, they're usually right. And hey, sometimes having faith the size of a mustard seed can help you find something equally as small.
you